Hello, welcome to the 7th edition, and in today's lesson we're going to be looking at conditional statements. Now conditional statements are statements that allow us to control the flow of our program. So for instance, if I want to greet a user good morning when the time is 10 o'clock, that's a condition. Or when I want to do a particular thing, if a particular condition is met. In other words, sometimes you want to be able to, print receipt to the user whenever the user is done making payment. These are conditions. In fact, we make decisions every day. When you're leaving the house, you consider if it's going to be sunny or if it's going to be rainy. If it's going to be rainy, you would want to grab either your raincoat or an umbrella. Whatever it is, these are conditions. So those are the things we also do when writing our programs. You need to be able to undo some conditions and be able to tell when some things happen in your program. And that's what we'll be doing when it comes to conditional statements. Right, so conditional statements are not something really very difficult in Python, and almost every programming language supports conditional statements. And for us to start, we're going to be looking at just few things. We're going to be checking if the students score the minimum score. And if that happens, we're going to print a particular message. And let's see what I mean. So let's say we declare a first variable, which is going to be the minimum score. So we can just say minimum score. Let's say it's going to be 50. Then the student score. Let's make it dynamic. I don't want us to add a static number. So let's ask the user every time we run the program. And for us to do that, let's declare a variable, which is going to be student score. So let's wrap it in an integer. Of course, we need the input field. The input, which is going to be another function. Then let's ask question, what is your total score? Okay, now we're asking a question. If we run our code and see if everything worked fine, should be able to, let's see what's going on. Okay, so there's a complaint here. Oh, we did not wrap our string. You can see. So I'm just going to run it. Now it's asking, what is your total score? Let's say I put 30. Now nothing is happening, but at least we know that our variable is handling the user total score. So in fact, if I call, let's see, if I call this student score, you can see that you have 30, which was what we put. Fine. So let's see further things that we can do. So how do we check if the student score now is either lesser than the average score? Like, how do we check if the user does not meet the minimum score? It's very simple. We use the conditional statement. Now, and how do we do that? We can say if, of course, student's score is less than mean score, then we want to do something, right? So let's print something. Let's just print. I'm going to explain what the block of code is doing. So I'm just going to say you do not meet the minimum score. Right. So let's try to really understand what's going on here. So we are using the if statement to ask to really, set the condition. And what we are saying is, whatever number that is here, is it less than? I know you should be familiar with this less than symbol. Is it less than the mean score? So is this less than this, right? If it's less than this, print this statement. And whenever you see a column in Python, right, it's stating that there are statements that you need to declare after such declaration. Now, let's run it and see if it's going to work. If I say my F5 and I come and, maybe put 60, nothing happened, right? Because we did not undo that number. What we said is if it's less than, and 60 is greater than, right? So let's run it again and see what happened. So let's say we do 40. 40, of course, is less than 50. You can see you do not meet the minimum score. So you can see that it is possible for you to handle several conditions. Now, we've only handled if the score is less than. In other words, you can even detect when the score is exactly 50. So when the user scored the exact minimum score. And how do we do that? We can do that with the Alif. So Alif simply means, okay, if A equals to B, do something. Or if B equals to C, do something. Or if C equals to D, do something. So the Alif here is the or, right? Continuation. You can have as many Alif as possible. You can have as many or as possible. So now, let's say what we're looking for is, we can just even copy this. If the student score equals to the minimum score. If the student score is equals to the minimum score. Now, notice that I use the double equals to. You use double equals to. You need to always remember this. When you are assigning variable, you use 1. When you are comparing, you use 2. Now, let's write something else. So let's do another print function. And we are going to have our description in it. So we're just going to tell the user that you scored the exact minimum score, right? Pretty much we've handled another condition, right? How about we handle okay, maybe else. In fact, before we handle the else, let's run it and see what we have. Let's see. So I'm just going to say 30. Okay. I score lower. Let's run it again. F5. Let's say I scored 50. You can see you scored the exact minimum score. Okay, so now how about we want to handle the rest. So we're saying if the student score is less than the minimum score, do something. If the student score is the exact minimum score, do something. How about we want to say, regardless of if this is false, right? If this is false, okay, do something else, right? So we can just come in and say else. Now, so if I say or, and this is more like the and, or just by default, do this by default. If all of these conditions are false, if any of these conditions is not correct, if the user score is not less than 50, if the user score is not equals to the minimum score, then do this thing. So we can just say print, and we can go ahead and say you exceeded the minimum score. Now let's run it and see. I'm just going to say F5. So let's say we do 70. You can see you exceeded the minimum score. And quite well. If you say, let's say we do 10, see, we do not meet the minimum score. Let's run it again. Let's say 50. You can see you score the exact minimum score. Pretty much what you're doing right now is you're handling condition. And pretty much that's what we do every time when we write code, right? We set condition. When the user's password matches the one we store on the database, log the user in. When the password does not match what we have on the user base, tell the user that the user input the wrong password. So you can see these are conditions that happens every time in every aspect of our program. So I'm happy that you're getting the concept. If you have any question, of course, just leave your comments and I'll be willing to help you move forward. Few things I just want you to have in mind. There are several ways to check for condition. Let's comment it out. So you can check, you can use the greater than, you can use the greater than comparison, you can use the less than, you can use the equals to, you can use the or, you can use and you can use the and, right? And all of these things are things that we are going to get familiar with, but I just want you to know that it is possible for you to use all of this. Just like the way you use less than here, you can use greater than. We already used double equals to, right? You can see that it's possible to use or, and it's possible to use and. All of these things are things that you can look up for on the internet, right? Try to look them up and see if there are things you can learn about how they work. And of course, it's going to really help you to grow. And these are the comparison operator that allow us to perform some comparison in programming. If you want to know more about them, why not just look them up on Google search, try to see how they work and read some content about it. In subsequent videos, we're going to be working with them and you get to know how they work in real time. And that's how we wrap it up on today's lesson. If you have any question, of course, leave your question in the comment section and I'll advise that you follow us on all our social media handles. And please share your work. You're beginning to make progress, right? Whatever you learn, just put it in the description, take a screenshot of your code, share it on your social media platform and tag 30 days with Python. Tag Instinct Web as well. And of course, once we see it, we're going to share it and also celebrate with you. If you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, why not do that right now so that you can be notified when I release a new update. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one.